molten by the time it gets in, by the time it's, you get to the heart of combustion. So what happens, because it's heavy and it's spinning really fast, that's the reason it spins, is it throws it to the sides of the brick, of the fire brick on the sides of the chamber, okay? And it coats it. So all your metals, things like your zinc, your lead, all your carcinogens, all the stuff you don't want yet in the environment, is stuck in the glass.
The hole's falling apart.
Don't do that again. When it gets stuck in the glass, eventually the weight of the glass reaches its shear point, which means it starts to get heavy and breaks off and falls to the bottom where it hardens. And it looks like, it's called vitrified glass, it looks like a handful of marbles. And then because it's encased in the glass, it's now completely inert or safe. And you can throw it in the roadway, you can throw it in a hole in the ground, you can put it in my mother-in-law's cereal if you want. But all those, so in other words, it's the safest way to do it. The air going out of that plant is cleaner than what goes in, because any of the airborne pollutants get treated the same way as the garbage does. So that's why you don't need scrubbers, you don't need all this fancy technology. It's a very simple system, it's one that works incredibly well. And without question, it's the best method of turning waste into energy that I've ever come across. And I've been looking at this, I've been dealing with this for about 10 years. Now that doesn't make me a PhD in the subject, it just means I've been doing some reading and research on it and things like that. But when you look at all the other stuff, the Algonquin incinerator in not Vaughan, but down there in Durham. They've just got a great big box to burn everything in. And they found they put scrubbers in and all that to make sure that the stuff coming out isn't bad for you. Okay, that's fine if that's what they want to do, but it's not the best system. A lot of the European systems are the same. They're ahead of us in the idea of incineration, but the style of incineration, because it's not this particular style that traps all the pollutants in a safe way, they have to have other processes in place to deal with it, so they're not as technologically advanced. They're on the right track, but this system I'm describing is one that works really well.
How does yours compare to the one in Vienna?
Well, it's the same thing. It's the idea of they don't have, to the best of my knowledge, they don't use the glass in the system to trap the pollutants, which is the heart of this one.
So they got scrubbers and everything else in Vienna.
I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking what they're doing in Europe from that perspective. They're miles ahead of us, and we should be following that footprint, not windmills and solar panels. But this particular way of doing it is the best that I've seen so far. And it's something that's, once it gets up and running, it's going to blow people's minds.
Anybody using it right now?
They're working on a contract in Ghana right now, and there's a potential for putting one here in Ottawa, but local Ottawa politics being what it is, I don't know how easy that's going to be to do. And that's not something I'm directly involved with, but that in a nutshell is the heart of this whole energy and waste program. So if I could sum it up, what it does is and this is all, once you put it in place, it would end your traditional recycling program with a huge benefit to the taxpayer. It would put an end to the need for landfills, and it would also provide cheap electricity compared to the other forms of green energy that we're putting out there for the taxpayer as well, and would make it, we could be energy independent. Think about the Hamilton tire fire 2 years ago. If we ground up those tires and run them through a mill, there would never have been a pile of tires to burn in the first place. How much environmental damage did that do? Mm-hmm. You could have communities all across this country have their own energy and waste plant and on their own grid. You'd still be hooked into the national grid, but you could have an independent grid so that if something happens here, you could knock it off and not have it bother anybody else.
But why do they still have a tire? I thought they were using shredding tires now and mixing up with asphalt.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do with tires.
Yeah, to mix up
asphalt. But to me, because they're made out of what?
Oil.
Why would you not burn it?
Yeah, it's carbon. It's still carbon. It doesn't, plastic, rubber, anything that's not in the rock family is still carbon.
Yeah.
It's all in the molecular chain. It's all in the structure. That's what it is. So, people, that gets lost on people. They don't understand it. Because glass is in the rock family. The frame on these glasses and this plastic lens, this is carbon.
Yeah, well,
just like that piece of paper.
90% of what's on Earth is carbon. Okay, we're going to take a short break because I got to go to the bathroom, and I'll come back and do a Q&A if you want. Okay, Erica.
Turn off your